Hello and salam Malaysia Madani. It's good to have you with us here on the Table. We are broadcasting on RTM Click and MyTV's Economics and Finance. Welcome to Economics and Finance. Welcome to the studio, Doctor.
Thank you, Brandon.
It's so good to have you with us, Doctor.
Thank you.
Now,
thank you so much.
Doctor, the question is, how significant is the introduction of a carbon tax in Malaysia's journey toward a low-carbon economy?
Brandon, as you can see that last Friday, our Prime Minister announced the carbon tax 2026. Actually, they have decided this year, planned out, and the implementation will be next year,
right?
2026. So as you can see that this is critically through milestone for Malaysia in the effort of to transition to low carbon economy.
Okay.
And as you can, and this what it signals is that it is a decisive move from voluntary environmental pledges to market-based regulation. So it is to absorb the true cost of carbon emission because companies, they emit carbon, but they don't absorb it as their own responsibility.
Right.
But right now with this carbon tax, as you can see that in next year onwards, it will be going to be, they have to absorb the cost of emission. Okay. All right. And as mentioned earlier, last Friday when the budget was announced, carbon tax was a welcome move in 2026. I think all the industries as well as the academicians, all society, they are welcoming this move. And according to the report by Edgar 2024, it says that Malaysia emits about slightly more than 300 million tons of carbon dioxide in the air. It's pumped into the air, so we need to be responsible for that. So by pricing this carbon, what we are trying to say is that the government aims to shift the industrial behavior towards low carbon economy, towards a healthy environment for the society to live peacefully and healthily, right? And also this carbon tax implementation, which will be next year, it is timely because it is in line with the National Energy Transition Roadmap. All right, I think this is a known fact.
Yes, that's
that everybody would have read this, and in line with that, I think next year onwards, the roadmap is taking off very well, right? And for achieving at the end of it is by 2050, we'll be achieving about net zero carbon emission. So there's no more carbon emitted in the air. 2050. So that's our NDC. That means we are talking about nationally determined commitment with the Paris Climate Agreement. And by 2030, we want to reduce by 45 carbon intensity. 2030, 45% carbon intensity. So I think with all these kind of pledges and so on, we are in the right direction towards implementing. It's a very significant move if we want to achieve a net zero by 2050. Right.
Now, in your own views, Doctor, do you think that this move is achievable and the goal and the success by the end of this story, do you think it's achievable in your own opinion, Doctor?
Yeah, my opinion is just like yours, actually. With the roadmap we have, NETR, National Energy Transition Roadmap, I think, and with the carbon policy that we have, I think we can achieve. But of course, it has to be a commitment from all sectors.
That's right.
And the governance as well. Right. As you can see that we are initially implementing for 3 sectors, that is iron, steel and energy sectors. So I think for a start, I think this will be a very good thing because they are the biggest emitters.
Yes, correct.
Pollution emitters, carbon emitters. So therefore, this will be an impressive move for achieving low carbon economy in the future.
Now, when you mention iron, steel and energy sectors, let's talk about the impact of it. Because when it comes to taxing or taxation, there's definitely repercussions to it. So how might starting the carbon tax with the iron, steel and energy sector, how is it going to impact the economy and the environment?
Yeah, definitely the impact is there. I mean, you cannot deny the fact that, any cost, I mean, the tax is a cost for sectors like iron, steel and energy sectors. I think this impact will be from the perspective of economy and environment mostly. Right? And of course, the societal impact as well. Right? As you can see that by introducing this carbon tax, you can see that these 3 sectors would have significant economic impact at first. All right. in terms of increased production costs.
Yes.
All right. And when they have this tax, because they are all heavily reliant on fossil fuel in their production costs. So therefore, any tax imposed on their production will have their costs increased. And again, when they have the stock tax increased, they tend to pass to the consumers. So consumers may have the hit of in terms of electricity bill, the materials, even the house price may see an increase in a short-term period. So therefore, this carbon tax in a short term, I would say that there could be a hit imposed on these three sectors. However, all right, there's a caveat in that.
Okay.
However, they are forced to now look into alternatives.
Right.
Alternatives in using green technologies in their production.
Okay.
So when they do that, they're not only reducing carbon emission, they also would find that they don't have to pay much tax to the government, right? So, so that is one aspect of the economy.
So it's something positive to actually look out for.
Yeah, definitely, yes.
Now, when you mention, because previously you mentioned about the commitments under the Paris Agreement and also the National Energy Transition Roadmap. Now, Doctor, could you briefly tell us again, how is this initiative, the carbon tax strategy, how does it align with the commitments of the Paris Agreement and also the National Energy Transition Roadmap?
So as you can see, Malaysia's planned 2026 carbon tax is actually very much in the direction of the Paris Climate Agreement, right? Okay, what they want is the countries all over the world must achieve what they commit in the NDC, which is the nationally determined commitment. For Malaysia, the NDC is by 2050 we must be carbon free, at a very low level, carbon free. So therefore, beginning with iron, steel and energy sectors directly supports the Paris Agreement, all right, to cut the greenhouse gas emission, all right, intensity by 45% by 2030, all right, and achieve net zero emission by 2050. I think this is a clear-cut milestones that we need to achieve in line with Paris Agreement, all right, climate agreement. And these sectors, as you know, that they are Malaysia's largest emitters.
Correct.
So electricity generation alone contributes nearly about half of the carbon output, carbon dioxide output. And so pricing carbon where it matters most ensures immediate process towards the transition towards a green economy. I think that's important to look into. And the policy also internalize the environmental costs. They are forced to internalize. Otherwise, they will find that that's not my responsibility. I'm just emitting.
Yeah.
So therefore, with the carbon tax, they have to be responsible. They have to have a responsible production efforts, mechanism, using a green technology as fast as possible, and compel these high emitters, like these three sectors, to innovate. Innovate and establish mechanisms, transparent mechanism, carbon measurement. I mean, we want to know that the government wants to know that how much carbon you have emitted. There must be a framework to measure.
That's right.
All right. So they have to be, of course, with the help of the government, the ministry, the companies within the sectors, they will have to establish a framework. All right. Even the industry itself or the association itself. So for reporting this carbon emission, it is an important element for Paris climate agreement. All right, in order to avoid any distortions in the data, and which will, I will say that it will strengthen our NDC implementation.
And I really admire the fact that you mentioned that it inspires to innovate. I think that's the most important thing that we want to get out of this whole carbon tax strategy. And to talk about inspiration now, Malaysia is chair of ASEAN 2025. Now, how can Malaysia's carbon tax framework inspire or align with similar initiatives across ASEAN?
Yeah, that's a good question, Brandon. I think this is timely as well, and we are going to have this Asian summit soon. I think hopefully Prime Minister touches on this subject. Yes, carbon tax is one of the things that Asians can learn from Malaysia. Malaysia being the chairman of the Asian region association. And you can see that the carbon tax implementation presents a strategic opportunity to the Asian carbon pricing mechanism.
Right.
All right. So far, as you can see, that only Singapore has pioneered so far. Singapore and Indonesia to some extent. Singapore pioneered the carbon tax implementation in 2019, and as you can see that they started off with $5 Sing dollar, Singapore dollar, or in the US is about $370. All right, then they increased gradually. In 2024, 2025 is about $45.
Okay,
and then they are planning to impose about 80 Sing dollar by 2030.
Okay.
I think that is a great commitment from the Singapore, which we, Malaysia, should benchmark and learn from. And when we implement next year, other countries like Vietnam, Thailand, which they are planning, they're considering or contemplating to implement carbon tax, they will follow our experience.
Right.
How are we implementing it? Starting with the three sectors. Whether we will be successful or not. So they will be able to evaluate the procedures, the governance structure, the mechanism, the pricing structure, and so on and so forth. You see, like even look at the GDP of the Asian countries.
Okay.
We are not that far different
from each other.
From each other. So you can see that when Malaysia implements carbon tax next year, countries like Vietnam, Thailand, and so on, and other countries, they will want to emulate exactly what we do next year. Right. Starting with three sectors. All right. So this is the basic understanding of this. But one of the things that is a distinctive feature of Malaysia in terms of sharing this information and knowledge to the Asian component countries would be the Islamic finance sukuk. Sukuk, which I think they issued the first green sukuk in 2017, sorry, and then developed the first sovereign sukuk in 2021, which is actually financing green projects.
Right.
Sukuk enables us to gives a positive motivation for implementing or investing in green projects, which I think in countries like Indonesia, I think they would have started it.
Right.
Brunei, I think Malaysia, a Muslim population, quite heavy there. And they will be able to emulate from Malaysia in terms of the implementation of sukuk, financing green projects, all leading towards low carbon economy, which is a very essential aspect of our future generation.
Yes.
All right. People like you are young and you are able to breathe in new, fresh air and live healthily, forever.
It'll be digital air.
Digital air.
Right, but totally understood whatever that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Now, when you just mentioned as well that when 2026, when it arrives, it will definitely create an impact. And the impact would be a good impact, or probably an impact that would never make sense for some industry players out there. But in order to cushion the impact in its entirety, how can industries be supported during the transition period to reduce the risk of economic disruption?
Yeah, of course. This is a very valid question. Of course, they need support.
Yes.
And none other than from the government, at least for now.
Yeah.
I think sooner or later the private partnership also will be involved in implementing the entire carbon mechanism in terms of supporting the sectors, the affected sectors. As you can see that the steel industry, for example, they are facing lots of challenges. All right. I have to let you know that right now they are only achieving about 40% capacity in terms of their production. Right. As compared to 75% global average. I think it's underutilized. Right. This overcapacity is there. So already they are losing there in terms of capacity. Okay. What is important is that the government needs to support at the beginning phase. All right. So what happens is that the government in the recent budget announcement as well, they touched on the green technology financing scheme, where the money can be borrowed at a lower interest to finance green projects. As well as there is also the fund we have. The National Energy Transition Fund, which is about 50 million to finance, to guarantee green projects, 80% of it. Okay. All right, by the government. Right. So these opportunities are important for the industries to leverage and proceed with implementing innovative technologies. For example, in the steel industry, they should move into electric furnace. Arc furnace, as compared to the blast furnace. Right now they're having it. So when you have the blast furnace, the emission is higher. Right. Definitely is higher. All right. I'm not saying that electric arc furnace would not emit much, but it's much lower, lower compared to the blast. So therefore, steel industry companies related to the steel, they can actually use this budget, this fund, to actually implement these technologies and achieve the government's goal of reducing the carbon intensity by 45% by 2030.
Wow!
Right? Yeah. I think that's a thing. And the other thing that I didn't touch earlier, also I should have touched this about the carbon border.
Right.
Carbon border. The EU is implementing next year a carbon I call it a CBAM. Okay. Right? Carbon border adjustment mechanism where they will say that imports coming from ASEAN, including Malaysia, especially iron and steel, fertilizers and so on and so forth, with a high carbon intensity, they will be imposed of carbon charges.
Okay.
Right. But if we have that carbon tax already in the country, we may be exempted or mitigated.
Okay.
Right. So lower carbon charges can be. You can expect that. But countries like other countries where they do not have carbon tax in place or even implemented next year, for example, they may suffer more.
Okay.
Or they may suffer quite a bit of losses because of the CBAM if they are exporting heavily to EU. All right. So therefore, the carbon border adjustment mechanism must, I think our Prime Minister, because of his chairmanship, he can actually share his experience in terms of protecting the ASEAN in a collective manner in terms of the pricing, harmonizing the pricing in a collective manner to move towards this low carbon economy, not only within Malaysia but the entire region, all right? So Asian region. So it's about 10 countries will be involved, living healthily and so on and so forth, right?
And soon we will have 11.
Yeah, yes, 11 coming soon. Yeah.
Now, Doctor, we're going for a quick break right now, if you don't mind. And of course, when we come back, we'll talk about tax carbon. How is it or how will it affect you and I, consumers? Stay tuned. There's more to discuss right after this. And welcome back to the show. This is On the Table. And coming back to our guest in the studio, Doctor, let's talk about carbon tax effect and how is it going to affect consumers, particularly in terms of energy prices, transportations, and also goods.
Yeah. Carbon tax definitely will have an impact, cascading effect on consumers, consumer prices. All right. With the energy sector being the primary transmission channel, you know that they transmit a lot carbon dioxide to in the air, and that the Malaysian electricity sector, which accounts for about 80%, close to 80% of the national greenhouse emission, and relies on the cost of. They have an energy mix of fossil about 45% and gas is about 31% for power generation, and this will ultimately be if there is no regulation in terms of passing of the pricing mechanism, the higher cost will be then passed through to the higher tariff, electric tariff.
Right.
All right. A hike in there could be a possibility, but of course the government will help to manage that well in order to not to burden the rakyat, our people. And the magnitude depends on the implementation design, as I said that.
Okay.
So implementation. So definitely, if the government allows renewable energy tariff to remain competitive, all right, and accelerate the national energy transition roadmap, it needs to target about 70% renewable by 2050.
Okay.
So we need to use at least 70% renewable energy. So the long-term trajectory actually points towards carbon tax revenues, especially, and this would impact. In the short run, there will be an increase in prices, food prices as well. As you can see that, there will be lots of cold storage, electricity hike, and that will be passed to the consumers, and other sort of house prices may increase because of construction materials coming from the steel, because steel is a major component of construction materials and so on. So there would be, in a short term, I would say that there will be short-term means is within maybe one year plus. So you can see that there could be an increase in the housing prices because of the material costs, and then you have these food prices increased, and of course the transportation as well. So people may expect a slight increase if the companies in the related industries, they decided to pass the buck to the consumers.
Right.
Right. So there could be a slight burden of the brunt that the people have to bear during the short-term period. All right. So in the long term, of course, definitely the sectors would manage in terms of involving new technologies, green technologies, and that actually that will help in terms of managing even the consumer's burden. You may ask me this? How would this help in terms of managing? Government will help into managing these the consumer's burden in terms of in the wake of increased costs. You see, when the government imposed the carbon tax, there will be a revenue collected, right? And it's expected about 1 billion a year, for example. Right? So that 1 billion will be reinvested, invested in green technologies, and also can support people who are affected by the hike in the material costs and food price and so on and so forth. And maybe the SARA increase in SARA amount can be a good avenue for government to look into for the B40 category people. They need help, so they can be supported with all this fund collected from the tax revenue.
Okay. Now, Doctor, maybe you could also share with us some examples of how other countries, how they have used carbon tax revenues, just to boost innovation, perhaps, and maybe lower costs for their people.
So if you look at Finland is the first country in the world, right? First country to implement carbon tax, right? So they implemented in 1990, all right? As you can see that they were pioneering the concept of using tax revenue simultaneously to drive decarbonization, right? And you can see that Finland's carbon tax modestly they started off with just $150. And what is the approach that we are learning from Finland? The Finnish approach is that they have a revenue recycling strategy very clearly specified in the document and implemented. So we can, Malaysia as a country, we can actually learn from them. The revenue recycling strategy. And carbon tax revenues, what do you mean of recycling strategy is that revenue recycling strategy is that the carbon tax is used to lower income tax, for example. So they can say that, now we have the tax revenues collected, so we can actually have some good impact into the income tax, for example. So Finland would have done that. In terms of Singapore has got a transparency specified very clearly, where Malaysia can actually emulate in terms of preparing the model of implementing the carbon tax. All right, and the UK as well. UK acknowledges that, while we impose carbon tax, we also achieved strong GDP over the decade, for example. So these are the few countries that you can see that even Switzerland as well, with a good amount of revenue collected to pass the revenue to the people to enjoy it, and they want that tax to enjoy the tax. All right, at the expense of those who are paying it, the industry.
Of any initiative. Now, Doctor, unfortunately, we only have a few more minutes before we wrap things up. We're talking to be exact 2 minutes. But probably, perhaps, in a very brief manner, what lesson can Malaysia learn from other countries, that have implemented these carbon taxes and to become more competitive globally? Just a short one.
Basically, since carbon tax is going to start next year, recycling revenue is important. So we need to learn a lesson from different countries like Singapore, Switzerland, Finland. And then also we are talking about British Columbia also looked into this in terms of legally mandated revenue neutrality, which is important in requiring every dollar collected to return tax in the form of tax cuts. All right. And Switzerland as well in the direct climate dividend paid. So we call it as dividend. In Switzerland, they call it as a dividend. Paid to the people. Right.
Interesting.
So some of these examples are very interesting and amazing. But Malaysia would be in the right direction for that.
And you believe Malaysia will be in the right
direction? Definitely, yeah. I think the government has got a very strong framework. That's appreciative of that. Prime Minister will lead the way. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doctor, thank you so much for joining us and for discussing about this carbon tax and how we can better the lives of Malaysians actually, and to all the business owners out there, how they can move around such initiative, and most importantly to also understand that there's help to cushion the impact once this carbon tax kicks in 2026.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us. And that wraps up this week's episode. So we've been talking to Dr. Arumugam G. Sitambaram, an academic at the APU. Now, a repeat of these episodes broadcast can be viewed again at the same time tomorrow and subsequent days on both RTM Click and MyTV's Berita RTM channel, as well as Berita RTM YouTube channel. Till the very next episode, I'm Brandon Lepal, signing off. Take care.